You okay? Sorry, buddy. Yeah. Ready? Wipe your boogers. Take the bat. Got it? What's up, guys? Coach Madden and KJ. We're here. Oh, it's his show now, but we're here for an Office Hours episode where we answer your baseball questions here in my office. Whoa, lefty. Today's question comes from Sam, and he says, okay, big question. This has been driving me insane. The Maddux pitch, a right-handed pitch, two-seamer with a ton of sink to a left-handed batter that looks like it's going to bean them in the hip, and then it comes back over the strike zone for a called strike. How can I consistently throw something like that? Like, my two-seamer is great as a sinker. I throw my two-seamer with opposite of cutter in mind. It really gets in righties, and they can barrel it up. I can't barrel it up. I grip it like any other basic two-seamer, thumb tuck, fingers in between the laces, basic stuff. I want a little sink to it to give batters a different look. I'll throw the Coach Madden sinker with the index and thumb lining up with the two fingers against the inside of the seam. My actual sinker that I use is more of a one-seamer. I don't know a lot of guys who throw sinkers like this, but oh boy, does that thing sink. I get both sink and run to it. I grip it kind of like a slider. Only difference is that I have my middle finger on the seam with the index on the left side of the ball so I can stay inside of it more. Okay, so there's the basics of my sinking two-seam pitches. I'll send pics of the grips too, but how do I get better at throwing the Maddux pitch? Are there any drills I can do? Do I start all the way on the left part of the rubber? Should I have my shin angle pointed to the left batter to promote throwing the pitch starting at right at the lefties? Please let me know what you think. This is something I really want to get better at. First of all, thank you so much for that question. The first thing that you have to understand is that there's only one Greg Maddux. There's only going to be one Greg Maddux. So it's great that you have these high goals set, but there's been nobody else like him in the game. The way he's been able to locate pitches, move pitches, just dominate guys for so long in the big leagues. You know, that's a great goal to try to be like that, but there has only been one of them ever. Now, the pitch that you're talking about, that two-seamer that he throws at lefty's hips that runs back over, is a nasty pitch, and there's been a lot of pitchers who've been able to get that movement. So that is definitely an achievable goal, an achievable pitch. And when I played in the Padres organization, my first year was one of his last years there. So I got to, he came and talked to the pitchers, the new pitchers, gave us some tips and stuff like that. So one of the big things that he always talked about was consistency, having a repeatable delivery. So that's the first step in throwing that pitch, or really any pitch that you're trying to throw, is having a repeatable delivery, right? And we're going to talk about his grip, how he gripped it, how he threw it and stuff. But this is the fundamental. This is the basics of what you need to be a great pitcher and locate and have balls move like Maddux did. And what he always talked about was consistency and having a repeatable delivery. Because if you can repeat your delivery and you know exactly what you're doing in your motion, then the pitches are going to be repeatable. They're going to be consistent in the zone where you're trying to throw them, right? So if you understand your body and have control over your body down the mound, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to execute pitches on a consistent basis. That makes sense, right? That's just how it is. And that's his biggest point that he always talked about when he came and talked to the new pitchers, which was me and my group of pitchers in the Padres organization. Now, secondly, let's take a look at his grip, okay? First of all, this was my grip, the sinker grip. Sam, you showed this. And you can see I was here inside of the laces in the middle, thumb underneath. Now, here's the big difference from my sinker, my two-seam, and Maddux's. He was a little further down on the ball this way, and he really liked to get his thumb on the lace underneath. So I think the thumb right here might be the secret in his two-seam pitch, because now he's got something under here. For me, I didn't really care. I kind of had it more on the skin of the ball. And I would get a lot of sink. My sinker was ranked number 1 in the Padres organization. But obviously his two-seam was way nastier, and he did it for so many years successfully. But I think the secret of it may be having that thumb on that seam down there. So he's got a little more traction, and he could use this a little bit more when he's throwing that ball. So he's kind of got a little bit of thumb traction to pull with. And he would hook it right here. And he had a little more space between his fingers. I don't know if that was on purpose, or he maybe has skinnier fingers than I do. I have, pretty fat fingers, so it looks like I'm filling up both those laces, but I'm actually hooking on this lace. So that could be one thing. But the other very interesting thing that Maddux did that I learned when I was playing with him was that when he was warming up before a game, he would never tell his catcher what pitch was coming. So he would just start throwing all different pitches, and he would know how his pitches were working that day by the reaction of the catcher. Meaning, if the catcher was seeing it and moving well and catching it, then he knew his pitches weren't working that well. He wanted them to be deceptive. So not only did he want that movement, but he didn't want the batter, and in this case, the catcher, to know it was happening. So if the catcher was like, whoa, and real late and stabbing at balls, then he knew his pitches were working. So he knew what pitches were working that day before he even got into the game. And let me tell you what, when he pitched against, when we did like inter squads, I remember sitting back there right behind the backstop and just seeing him carve up the whole Padres organization, man. It was crazy, and he was only throwing like 81 miles an hour, because this was at the end of his career. It was like 79 to 81 almost every single pitch. Obviously, slower on some of his breaking stuff, but that was his fastball. 79 to 81, just locating it up, dotting it up, moving it, sinking it, cutting it. It was just filthy. And that goes back again to being consistent, having repeatable mechanics, and just making that pitch be deceptive, not showing that you're trying to get that much movement. Because a pitch is easy to hit if it's a big, long frisbee slider or something like that. He didn't throw that, but guys think like, whoa, that pitch moved this much. But if they can see it the whole time, that's a lot easier to hit than something that looks like a fastball and then cuts it, sinks this way or cuts that way. You know what I'm saying? So that's what he was really great at. Again, there's only one Greg Maddux. It's great to aspire to be the best that you can be. But start by working on the consistency of your delivery, having repeatable mechanics, and then work on your pitching grips. Mess around with it. Mess around with the thumb placement, finger placement, and then really, turning it in. It has a lot to do with wrist angle at release point, obviously, to get that movement. He was really getting inside of that ball when he's throwing it. If you watch some video, you can see him. And that pitch is just nasty. I know exactly what you're talking about when he throws it right at those lefties' hips. It makes them jump back. Catcher doesn't move. Strike three. Sucker. See you later. I hope you guys like this video. If you guys want more pitching grips videos or tips on pitching, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see, and I'll make those videos for you. If you haven't already, please click the logo over here to subscribe. Then go check out some of these other videos, including the Greg Maddux story. It's a funny one if you want to check that one out. Talk to you soon.